In front of me, we have two very special armored vehicles, the Duco Death and the armored Karuma. Both of these cars are known for their amazing capabilities, whether it is explosion resistance or bulletproof protection. In today's video, we are going to be putting these two cars up to the ultimate test, comparing top speed, maneuverability, armor, bulletproof protection, and what I think is the best option of the two. As always, if you enjoy content like this and you'd like to see more in the comments, let me know. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's start this video off simple, which is top speed. Surprisingly, the sports car is actually the slowest of the two. The armored Karuma can reach a top speed upwards of 110 miles per hour, which makes it the 98th slowest sports car out of the 105 in the game. Yeah, that's pretty dang bad, I'm not gonna lie. All of that armor obviously comes with a big drawback, and that will be that speed. The Duco Death is quite a bit faster, reaching 115 miles per hour. It still is one of these slower muscle cars, but it's definitely a big advantage in speed over the Karuma. But does that mean it is better on overall maneuverability and a lap time? Well, let's bring it over to my course and find out. Off we go! Now this is a very simple course, one that I feature on the channel all the time when it comes to car reviews. We start off in the city next to the clothing store and make our way all the way over to Sandy Shores at the Biker Club. It's a 4-mile journey and it features a lot of corners, a lot of straights, and a lot of maneuverability. It's a good way to get an idea of how a car's acceleration, overall handling, and top speed work together to pair into an overall course. I guess we're going to have to find out which of these two cars wins, but I'll tell you for a fact it surprised me which of these two were indeed the victor. So far, we'll notice that very similar performances are being done here. We're getting just over the top of the last jump in the city, and yeah, I mean, look at that. It's only about a second difference between the Duke and the armored Karuma. At this point, we are making our way through Vinewood Hills. And again, it's very close. The Duke does have a bit of a disadvantage because I have to take these corners really wide as there's cars getting in my way, but it's not that big of a problem. As we can see, the Karuma also had a slight mishap there. So honestly, kind of evens out. Okay, well at this point, we have now made it up top the hill, and we are almost to our downward descent. This is where maneuverability is by far the most important thing, because it's all downhill. Speed doesn't really matter too much. I mean, yeah, if your car's a lot faster in top speed, it'll be more important, but it's not the biggest issue ever. We can see here that maneuverability is going to triumph. So through the first corner, pretty similar results, and that is because that first corner is an absolute killer to get through. But you're going to notice a big advantage for the Duke as making our way through. I don't know why, and I'm very surprised, but the Duco Death, even though it's a rear-wheel drive car, is much better than the all-wheel drive on the Karuma. I don't know if it's because the Karuma's a bit lighter and it's just, I don't know, skittish, but yeah, the Duke just handled these corners like a beast, and because of that, you'll notice we came out on top, even though both cars entered at around the same time. So yeah, rather surprisingly, the Duco Death is quite a bit ahead. And because the Duke also has a higher top speed at around 115 miles per hour, it's obviously going to excel quite a bit in the straightaway here. So we're just passing the sign now for the Duke, and now for the Karuma. Definitely a bit of an advantage. So now we are rounding the final two corners. Is the Karuma going to be able to save some time here? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that is no. The Duco Death finishes with a 2-minute 37-second lap, and the Karuma finishes with a 2-minute 39-second. So, between these two vehicles, what do I have to say when it comes to the maneuverability and top speed? Honestly, it's pretty close. I mean, yes, the Karuma is a bit harder to drive, but it does feature much better acceleration as it is a sports car and quite a bit lighter than the Duco Death. Now, this does have its advantages and disadvantages. The Duke feels much more maneuverable, and it makes it a lot easier just to chill and drive in. But the Karuma does feel a lot more nimble, at least in the acceleration, and it does mean that if you're doing any sharp corners, you'll definitely accelerate out of them faster. Overall, I think both of these cars are within a second of each other if you actually get a proper lap out and because of that, I can't really say there's much of a difference in overall maneuverability. However, I will say, being heavier does give the Duke one big advantage, and that is the fact it sends cars out of its way, no issue whatsoever. This is a pretty big truck in front of us, and I mean, still, we completely counteract the force of that vehicle and send it out of our way. The Duke does not care what you're in, and that's really, really nice, especially when you're completing missions and there are NPCs that try to shoot you in the face by crashing into your car. Well, with the Duke, this isn't a problem whatsoever. Big ol' SUV, boom, out of my way. That is really nice. You will obviously get slowed down a little bit, but if you compare that to the armored Karuma, it's definitely a huge advantage. So now let's talk armor, and this is definitely where the Duke will prevail. In front of us, I have laid down 7 sticky bombs. Well, actually proximity mines, and we're going to see how many the Duke can survive driving over. So here comes the first one right now. As we can see, no problem whatsoever. Second one, again, no issue. Something else you'll notice that's really nice about this vehicle is because it weighs so much when driving over these mines, it really doesn't do much to actually stop the vehicle, where, let's say you're in an Amani Tech car, you're going to get absolutely flung. So here's another one. And there you go. So we did get blown up, but it definitely takes a lot of explosions to finish off. Let's compare that to the armored Karuma, which is obviously not going to do all too well. We got a singular proximity mine in front of me, and yeah, not the best job there. But that's not to say the Karuma doesn't have an advantage in armor, because it definitely does. You see, the armored Karuma is completely bulletproof. Even though it looks like those shots are going directly through the glass, trust me, they aren't, and I'll be showcasing that in just a moment. We can see that every single panel on this vehicle is completely bulletproof, including the back glass. Now, if we compare that to the Duke Death, yes, the Duke does actually have decent protection. We can see that all of these panels here do actually count as solid bulletproof armor. And if you're a passenger, there's almost no chance you're going to be killed, at least from the front, because of that massive paneling. Unfortunately, the driver does not get that, and we can actually see the bullets going directly through. These side panels here also, your shots go directly through. However, the rear of the Duke Death is completely bulletproof. So, if you're ever dealing with somebody trying to kill you, all you really need to do is drive the vehicle in reverse towards them, and they're not going to be able to shoot you at all. Not only that, but even if they are shooting at your front, you got this big ol' engine block. So anybody shooting at this direction of your character is still going to have a decently hard time to hit you because of this big ol' engine block that sticks out in the front. So the Duke Death actually has pretty solid protection overall, but it's obviously not nearly as good as the armored Karuma. To show just exactly what I mean, we can see right now I am literally sitting my Karuma in front of the NPCs, and they literally cannot do anything to me. There are slight spots here and there where you will take a teeny bit of damage in the Karuma. It's just a bug with the armor, but it doesn't really matter. All you need to do is eat a couple P's and Q's and you're back up to full health. There are not many vehicles in the game where you could sit in front of a bunch of cops like this and just never die. But yeah, the Karuma, as we can see, that glass in the front is completely bulletproof, and it is no issue whatsoever. It does not matter if somebody's shooting a minigun at you or whatever it is, you are obviously not going to deal any damage to the Karuma. Let's now compare that to the Duke. Now, as I said, the back of the... Oh my god, they shot the propane tank. But yeah, as I did say, the back of the Duke is fine. Like, anybody trying to shoot at me from the back, they're not going to deal any damage. I can sit here for days and nothing's going to happen. But if I do turn my vehicle to the front, while it does feature a lot of protection, we can see again that bug catcher does pretty good. You'll notice that you still can die, and quite quickly, especially if there's a player who knows where the weak spots are. And that brings us to the final category of today's video, and that is price tag. If we head over to our phone and we scroll over to Warstock Cash and Carry, we will be able to see the price tag of the Duke Death, and it's absolutely free. It's why it is one of the best vehicles in the game, especially for a beginner. But the crazy thing is that the Duke is not a bad shout even for an experienced player like myself, which is over level 240 on my Broke to Millions account. I still use the Duke a lot because it is such a good mission car. It features a lot of bulletproof protection that a lot of Amani Tech vehicles don't have, and it has explosion resistance, which the armored KARUMA doesn't. Making your way over to southern San Andreas, you will be able to find the armored KARUMA. It is a fairly inexpensive vehicle, sitting at $525,000. We can see it right here. Now, if you don't have the trade price unlocked, it will be a little bit more expensive, but still a fairly cheap vehicle for the level of protection that you are getting. So both of these are very cheap. Obviously, the Duke definitely wins in the cheap category, though, as you can get it for literally free. So at this point, obviously, it's down to what I think and what you think is a better car. Personally, I like the Duco Death more. First of all, it's free. So even if you don't end up liking it, you really can't get too mad, judging that you were able to get it in your garage for the price tag of $0. But the reason I like the Duke better is, as I listed before, it can survive explosions. Which means if you're ever dealing with public lobby, issues, or you're in a private lobby and you're dealing with a mission that might involve explosions, the Duke is just a big lifesaver. And when you pair that with the fact that the entire back of this car is bulletproof and the front is still somewhat bulletproof, it is very easy to survive really any attacks being thrown at you. Where the KARUMA is only good at bulletproof protection. It's not good at shoving cars out of the way, it's not as fast, and honestly, it doesn't handle as well. So I personally like the Duco Death out of the bunch. But I'm also a little biased just because I absolutely love American Muscle, and this is such a cool looking vehicle. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree with my choice? But I think they're both amazing. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!